Oh god, I hope I don't have anything embarrassing on my desktop. Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to show you how I get some, not just some, but most of my external camera views. And to do that first, there are two things we need to do. One of them we need to do from the desktop before we actually get into the game, and that is make a very small Lua file edit. So, you may have noticed in DCS your camera likes to stop when it gets close to the ground or another object, and that doesn't allow the camera to get very low to the ground, and we're going to turn that off. So to do that, I already have the folders open here. If you look in your main DCS install path, so for me that's DCS World Open Beta. If you use the stable, quote-unquote, branch, I think yours will just say DCS World. I'm not sure, but anyways, I'm on the Open Beta. So in my DCS World Open Beta main install folder, you want config and view. And there is this Lua file called server. We want to edit this file, but if you edit this file, it, I believe, breaks integrity check and you will not be able to play online, and it will also be overwritten every single time you update DCS. So to avoid that, we want that file in our saved games. Now some people might already have this in their saved games file. If you do not have this file in your saved games, so in your saved games DCS Open Beta, there should be a config folder. If not, I'm sure you can create one. And inside the config folder is a view folder. Again, if it does not exist, you can create it. And I just copied the server.lua file from my main DCS install and pasted it in my saved games. So you can open this file with either Notepad or Notepad++. I prefer Notepad++ because it's just organized better. All the colors and things make it a lot easier to figure out what's going on, especially for stupid people who cannot code like me. Now the file we want, not file, the line that we want to edit is right here, number 6. It will be at the very top, camera terrain restriction. By default this is set to true, which means your camera will stop, I want to say about human head height from the ground, or somewhere around there, which makes it very hard to get dynamic camera angles that are very close to the ground or close to the aircraft carrier deck or some other object like that. So basically all you have to do is change this. By default it says true. Can't spell today apparently. So by default it looks like that. It says true. That means that the terrain restriction is on. Simply change that to false. Control S to save it. And that's it. Okay, so that is all you have to do there. Now the next thing is not so much an edit as it is turning on a setting. So let's go into DCS World. Okay, we are now in DCS at the main menu screen. Let's go up to Options. And Miscellaneous. And down here on the left, down towards the very bottom, the fourth entry from the bottom, Track IR External Views. Check this. This allows you to use Track IR to pan the camera and create some pretty cool angles while you're filming. And that reminds me, I do not have my track IR on right now, so let's do that. Okay, so this is just a free flight in some formation I did a couple weeks ago on a different version of the open beta, so it might break, but what the hell, let's try it. Okay, so this was recorded in VR, by the way, which is why it's so shaky. So I'm going to recenter this. I'm going to hit the numpad 5 key, and now my track IR is working. Okay, now this is me live moving. Okay, now I want to center the heads, the pilot's, center the heads, yeah, okay. Center the pilot's head. Sorry, that was, pause, that's kind of distracting. I want to center the pilot's head because if, for example, you're looking out to your left and you switch to an external view, the pilot's head will be stuck in that position as long as you're in an external view, basically. So, for example, say my pilot is looking at God knows what over his left shoulder, and he's just stuck like that. So I want to make sure my head is centered. And, let's pause again. Basic external view, F2 key. Okay. I think everyone's familiar with this. You have the info bar down at the bottom. To hide the info bar, you hit Control Y. That's Yankee. 2 times, and it disappears. Okay, and you can see in external view the setting we changed, the track IR external views. This allows me to look around with my track IR in the external views, which is awesome because you can offset the focus of your shot and frame it different ways. You can add some Dutch tilt and things like that. I think this is an important feature to take advantage of because by default the F2 view centers the aircraft in the middle of the frame or near middle of the frame, and that's, it's pretty boring. I like to use photography techniques, the rule of thirds, where basically you split the screen into sections of 1/3, like the left third, the middle third, and the right third horizontally, and even vertically the top third, middle third, bottom third. So horizontally I can place the plane in my left third, the center third, right third, top third, middle third, bottom third. So it gives more interesting framing because if it's in the middle, there are some situations where you might want the object of the scene in the center, but oftentimes it's more interesting to offset it somewhere like that. And the camera terrain restriction code edit we did in the Lua file allows you to, do this basically. Now we are underground. Whee, that's crazy. But it allows you to get so much closer to the ground for more interesting shots. Okay. Now also I forgot to mention zoom controls. If you use the mouse scroll wheel, you can move the camera away from or closer to the aircraft. Okay, we can get down low with the terrain restriction off, like down in the weeds, literally. Okay. And whoops. So I place my camera here, and then you can also further zoom with right control and the numpad asterisk or star. We'll zoom in like you're using a telephoto lens at an air show or something. And right control slash will zoom out. And to reset right control, numpad, enter. And then the scroll wheel aft moves you closer. Scroll wheel forward moves you further away. Okay, so that is F2 view. I don't use this view very often for filming. I do use it a lot for screenshots. Okay, next is the GoPro angles. Now this is cool. Let me pause it. It might be different from aircraft to aircraft. Some aircraft, it's the F4 key. And for the A10, it's not the F4 key. It should be, yeah, left shift F4. And you get a view kind of like this. Okay. And with Track IR external views, you can look around. If you move the mouse, you can kind of change where this camera is looking as well. So you can use this without Track IR, and actually I recommend using it without Track IR because it can give you a nice stable GoPro style image, as if you stuck a GoPro camera to a weapons pylon or something. But you're in the middle of the airplane. How do you put it on a weapons pylon? Well, the numpad controls. If you look at your numpad, you'll see some up, down, left, and right arrows. 2 is a down arrow, 8 is an up arrow, 6 is a right arrow, 4 is a left arrow, right? If you press and hold right control and right shift, and one of those 4 keys, like the 6 key on the numpad, I'm moving the camera right. 4 key, moving it left. 2 key, moving it down. And the 8 key, moving it up. So right control and right shift plus the numpad, 2, 4, 6, and 8 keys, can position this camera. So, where's an interesting place to put this? Let's imagine there is a GoPro on the left gear nacelle, kind of looking towards that Maverick there. So let's go back to Shift F4. Every time you go back to this view, it will kind of default. So we need rotate with the mouse. We want down there. So right control, right shift 4, moving left a little, down. We are now inside the wing. Okay, we want to move left. We are inside the gear nacelle. Left. Okay, we're next to the gear nacelle. Kind of like a GoPro is stuck here. And with Track IR, if I look right, ooh, there's the Maverick. Okay. Now you can increase or decrease the field of view from this view, also with right control, right shift, slash. Whoops, that's not the FRV. I forgot a step. Okay, so right control, right shift, slash moves it backwards, and the asterisk or star moves it forward. Sorry, I forgot about that. So you're not limited to just left, right, up, and down, but you can also move it forwards and backwards with right control, right shift, slash, and star. Okay, let's move it back. Now the field of view I was trying to mention should just be right control, backslash. There we go. Now it's zoomed out, and right control, star. Now when it's paused, it does this very quickly. If you do it live, it's a bit slower, easier to control. So now let's say you do not have Track IR to position the camera like this, and you would be stuck in this, right? This kind of view. Use the mouse to rotate it where you want, like this. So now I kind of have the view I want, but I'm too far back. So then you would just use right control, right shift, star to move back forward. But now we're too far left, so then you move back to the right. Too far forward, let's move back a little. Back to the left, back. A little bit to the left, and there you go. So it takes a little experimentation and fiddling with without track IR, but it's just as doable. And that brings me to my last camera view that I use almost all the time. I would say this is my main camera view, and that is, let's go back to the cockpit, the free camera. So I believe that is left control F11. So left control F11, and now I have the free camera. Hello. So the free camera can be positioned anywhere at all. So I'm looking around with the mouse right now. Man, he looks like a cadaver. And of course with the track IR you can also look around. Now to position this camera, you simply use the numpad star key to move forward, or the slash key to move back. You can look around with the camera, or not the camera, you can look around with the mouse to move it anywhere you wish. Now this is the standard speed. If you want to go faster, you can hold right shift star and right shift slash to go a bit faster. Okay, so let's say you want to film that hog as it passes by. So I just moved, pause, I just moved the free camera using the mouse and the numpad star and slash keys to this position, and using the mouse to kind of rotate around. So I want to rotate here. My track IR is a bit limited. It's kind of a ghetto setup. My track clip broke. But I've got roughly 180 degrees view here that I can look with my track IR. You can see I'm kind of at an angle here. It's not straight. So let me move the mouse to make it straight. Okay, that's better. So now I'm more or less level. I can still do Dutch tilt if I wanted to, things like that. So let's kind of film this warthog as it goes by. So I'm looking left, zoom in with right control star. Okay, just like the F2 view. So now I'm zoomed in, and right control slash to zoom out. And here I'm just following it with my incredibly jerky track IR. And that's how I get a lot of my footage. A little Dutch tilt there. Sometimes I don't do the Dutch tilt on purpose, it's just my open track profile is kind of crappy, and it will sometimes do that to me. But what if we have a fast moving target and we just can't pan it very well with track IR because it's too fast, and we want a nice close-up too? Well, you can padlock the object or the aircraft. So where's a good spot here? That's good. Okay, so the plane is down there at the end of the runway, and he's gonna fly over there, and you know, my track IR just doesn't really have the range to follow it through that entire motion. Let's say it's a fighter jet and full afterburner, he's gonna go really fast, you want a nice close-up and you can't track it with your track IR. You can padlock from the free cam if you press left control F3. Now I'm padlocked and moving. Let me pause. Okay, so I am padlocked on the aircraft, and I believe you can cycle through different aircraft if there's multiples in your scene. And of course, zoom control is the same. Right control shift star. Whoops, sorry. Right control star. Okay, and there I'm zoomed in a bit. You can see that the zoom increment is very wide when it's paused. If you unpause, the zoom increment is a lot smoother and easier to control. So now I'm padlocked, and right now I'm giving no track IR input, or very little, and it's just following the airplane. The downside is that without track IR, you're stuck to basically the center point of the aircraft. With track IR, once again, you can split the framing into thirds and focus on parts like the nose here, or I don't know, the tail if you're an ass man, or the boom stuff if you like boobs. I don't know, whatever. And off he goes. And there we go, upper third and right third for my framing. Okay. And that jerkiness is something with my track IR. I don't know what the deal is, to be honest. Okay. And right control enter resets the zoom. And since you're padlocked, you can't move the free camera anymore. The free camera is now kind of stuck in this position. So left control F11 back to the free camera. So now I can position it. Where did my airplane go? There he is. Now, what about those aerial shots that I always get? Well, believe it or not, I use this free camera, same free camera. How do I use it? Well, I'm going to show you. I need to show you with the info bar though. So the info bar, notice the TS, that is TAS, I believe. Knots in imperial, or I think it gives kilometers per hour if you're doing metric. I've never actually used that. I'm always in knots. But you can control the speed of the free camera with the mouse scroll wheel. So if you scroll aft, you can see it's now increased to 7 knots. One more time, 14 knots. One more time, 22 knots. It's kind of hard to see. We're not close to any objects to really see the movement, so let me move it down here. So now you can see I'm kind of moving at 22 knots basically. Hey, there's a bird. Well, that's sad. I'm getting outrun by that shitty little car. Let's go faster. One more. 38 knots, 47 knots. Okay, and I can use the track IR to kind of pan. So now I'm moving forward, but looking to my left 9 o'clock. To my right. Now because of track IR, you can't really look behind you very well, but forward is nice. Let me slow down a little, try to match that car. Okay, I'm roughly matched with the car. So now I can use my mouse to move a little bit closer. And now I'm getting a nice panning shot on whatever this little family car is. Whee! Okay. So, and again, that is scroll wheel aft to move forward, and you can go, like I'm going 1,604 knots right now. So this is very useful. Now to stop it, scroll wheel forward will bring your speed down. So now I'm back to 0. And if you continue going forward, now my camera is moving 1,679 knots backwards. And you can do the same thing. Just this time you're going backwards instead of forwards. So this is how I chase my airplanes for a lot of the aerial shots. And the mouse logic drives me crazy every time because scroll wheel forward moves back and scroll wheel aft moves forward. Okay. Now, how do I match speed with the airplane though? This is the tricky part. Let me find my airplane. So, I have the info bar up, and it gives me my indicated airspeed, 270 knots, but the camera airspeed is given in true airspeed, TAS. So if you hit left control Yankee, once again, now you have my TAS, 332 knots. So let me pause. Okay, I'm going to move here, closer. So I'm going 332 knots TAS, so left control F11, free camera. I want to move forward, so scroll wheel aft until I get close to 332 knots. So I'm 338. If I do one more down, now I'm 318. That's too big of a gap. It's something weird with the way this works, but if you move back and forward, you can see now I'm 336. I was 338. So next time will be 335, 334, 333, 332. So I just kind of adjust my speed one click, for lack of a better word, on the scroll wheel back and forth, and it will gradually bring down the speed. I don't know why it does that, but you know, whatever. Now if I unpause, I'm pretty much flying with them, right? I'm using the mouse to kind of fly alongside. Slash key to move further behind, star key to move closer. If I want to zoom in, right control star. Now I'm zoomed in. So this is how I get my aerial shots. I hope my voice is audible over the jet noise. That's much louder than I thought it would be. Woo, he's turning. See ya. Okay, right control enter to reset the zoom. Let's chase him. I should be forming up on another A10 somewhere around here. Oh, there he is. Okay. And zoom. Right control star on the numpad. Do some Dutch tilt. Now, of course, I would not have the info bar displayed if I were actually filming. I just have it up for your reference to see what I'm doing with the mouse scroll wheel in terms of speed. So I'm going to hit the numpad star key to move closer without disrupting my speed. Like so. Ooh, that's cool. And I'm just using the mouse to kind of fly along. Okay, so that should give you a good idea. Now, sometimes I get fly along shots from the front by moving this camera backwards, and that is quite challenging to do, but I will demonstrate that next. So, for that demonstration, let's pause. Let's go back to my airplane. My speed has changed here. So my TAS is now 266 knots. So, left control F11. So right now my camera is going 255 knots forward. I want it to go backwards. So first I want to position the camera in front of these airplanes. Okay, I'm going to rotate around so I'm looking at them. Move back a little to make sure I'm not, I'm not doing something like that. Make sure I'm staying level with them. So around that looks good. Okay. And now I want to move 266 knots backwards. So mouse scroll wheel forwards until 266. Oh, perfect. I didn't have to do any adjusting there. Okay, and now pause. Okay, now they're chasing me basically. Now this is hard to do, but after a while you can get some nice shots. Let's zoom in again, right control star. Okay. And I'll hide the info bar. So yeah, something like this. Damn, I'm close. That's what I love about VR. It allows you to get so much closer in formation. It's actually kind of insane. I'm gonna have to make a video out of this. Okay. No, come back! So yeah, sometimes that happens. Let's do numpad slash to move back away. There they are. Right control enter reset. Let's get back into position. I'm using the numpad slash and star key to move backwards and forwards without disrupting my camera's flight speed. There we go. Wrong way. Okay. See, this is much more difficult than chasing the aircraft from behind. But once you get used to it, you can get some really good shots. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, and that concludes my tutorial, basically. That's really the only 3 cameras I use for my external shots. Rarely the f2, mainly the left control F11 free cam, and the Shift F4, or with some aircraft is just F4. You'll have to play around and figure out which one is for which aircraft. I nickname it the GoPro view, basically. I don't know how to end this. See you later.